Have you ever freaked out about your child's report card and then somehow found a way to blame yourself? If you have, this episode is for you in Mumshine Moments. Today, we're going to be meeting the voice of mum guilt that I lovingly call the catastrophizer. We're going to understand where she comes from, why she shows up, and also how to engage with her differently with a practical strategy we can do in under 2 minutes to help turn down the volume, to help spark a shift. And for those things and those moments of failure or perceived failure to feel less big. Hi, I'm Freya, the neurodivergent heart and brain behind Mumshine, and I've created this space to talk about the things that are hard for neurodivergent mums, to be real about it, to understand what's going on, and to work on practical strategies, tools, techniques, or even mindsets to help make things a little bit lighter. Who is the catastrophizer? Well, this is the voice of mum guilt, which looks at external information and data, often about how our child is tracking or performing. So it could be report cards, it could be development standards, it could be, scoring in sport or rankings. And we look at that data objectively. Our brain suddenly forecasts into the future and extrapolates a whole heap of meaning of what this moment in time will mean for our little person. And then we sort of tend to go to the worst case. And when we visit that worst case, we then link it back to a decision that we've made, finding fault in something that we've done and beating ourselves up about it. So like that report card example, a bad report. Does that mean my child's ever going to be able to get a job? What kind of job? Are they going to be able to go to the university or the school of their choice? Are they going to be limited in some way? Are they actually not learning? Are they not thriving? They're not growing. Maybe it was because we did too much screen time. We haven't done enough homework. There aren't enough supports. They're at the wrong school. I don't feed them enough fruit and vegetables or protein. Could be any one of those things. And this voice is really uncomfortable. It's really unpleasant. And often it's there in the middle of the night and it's persistent, gnawing away at us. And the real head scratcher is it's so uncomfortable and it's so horrible to be in this space. Why do we do this to ourselves? And the answer is we're not intentionally doing it to ourselves. We're not doing anything wrong. There's a real logical reason as to why this happens. So let's take a moment to look at that so that we can be more accepting of what's happening and maybe try something else. So if you think about the things that worry and scare you in life, are they things that are inside your control or outside of your control? They're going to be the things that are outside of your control, right? Because if we can control it, it's not really that scary. And so in this space of things we can't control and fear living there, that can feel really uncomfortable for us. We can feel really vulnerable and really disempowered. So our brain jumps in, helps you out. I'll help you feel more safe. Let's focus and find something that what you can control. Let's focus and find something that you can do right now to make that big scary go away. 9 times out of 10, it's blaming ourselves. Because we can control our own actions, right? I can change the amount of screen time. I can change diet. We can do more homework. We can get some tutors. There's lots of things that I can do differently as a parent. Suddenly it feels safer. The blame feels horrible, but I can do something with this. Awesome. And then it becomes the pattern. But at the end of the day, the thing that you're worried about really is, what job is my child going to have? Are they going to be able to have a job? Are they going to be able to feed and look after themselves? Are they going to be able to get into the schools they want, the universities? Are their choices going to be limited? And you know what? The reality is you can change the vegetables, you can change the screen time, you can do the tutors, you can do the support, you can do all of those things. And that may not actually impact the outcome at all. Who our children are when they grow up is entirely outside of our control. And that's a really scary prospect. We can absolutely do our best to support them and to help them and to give them scaffolding and learning and choices, but we can't control the life that they're going to lead. And hopefully it's going to go long on for a long time after we're gone. And so when we recognize that it's scary and we recognize the fact that there isn't control there, we can look at another technique rather than blame. And maybe we can try breaking the cycle. So, how can we deal with this catastrophizer differently? First is we can recognize them, note them, maybe give them a persona. If you haven't seen that, that's in last week's video and there's a link down below. Maybe acknowledge them. Oh, Catherine the catastrophizer is here. She's very dramatic. And then we can ask ourselves, what is it that this data makes me truly afraid of? And actually sit with that for a moment and recognize what that fear is. We can then ask ourselves, what is it here? Is that fear something that I can control? Chances are the answer is no. And we can recognize that. We can then ask ourselves, really, what's the problem here that I'm trying to solve? Is it that I'm trying to influence this outcome? And if so, how? Or is it actually that I'm trying to make the big scary go away? If the answer is, I'm trying to make the big scary go away, that's okay. You've caught it, you've noticed. And it's breathing and exhaling for as long as we can to show our brains that we're safe, that that big scary doesn't actually exist. It may never eventuate. And we show our brains that we're safe by our breath. We take that breath and we moment and we recognize what's happening. And then we ask ourselves, what's one thing in this moment that I can do right now that I can control? And that might be something as simple as reminding yourself you're doing a great job, of reminding yourself that there's a lot outside of your control, and that's okay. It could be about talking to your child about their strengths. It could be talking to them about what they're finding hard getting in the way and allowing them to come up with some solutions. Checking in how this sits with their expectations, if they're old enough to do so and it's appropriate. But what's one small thing that you can do in the moment without blame, without judgment? Be curious about those options. And over time, the more we do that, the quieter that catastrophizer gets. Because realistically, like a monster in the dark, we shine a light. Often there's nothing really there. So when we become conscious of what we're afraid of, and we choose the here and now instead, recognizing what the fear is. Right here in this moment, you're safe. Your child's safe. It's okay. And over time, we see a shift. That's it for Mumshine Moments today. Next week, we're going to be talking all about another voice of mum guilt, everyone's favourite. Mine's dressed in yoga pants. Is the competitor. I look forward to catching up with you then. And if you're after a free resource to maybe start looking at your mum guilt differently, again, there's a link in the comments of something you can download, Freya Mumshine website, just by entering your email address via the link below.